And so suddenly we can't say that we stop everything. So transition is a transition. So I am trying to reduce my travels. So whenever I go within Europe, I'll never fly. I always go by train. My daughter lives in Barcelona. I take a train to Paris and then overnight to Barcelona. I go to Rome so I don't travel, but I take a train. So that way we can reduce our impact. So you travel when it's necessary and only limited flying, reduce it. So transition is to reduce your thing and develop the alternative ways of traveling, and I do a lot of walking, as you heard. So use more walking. I use more walking. I like walking quite a lot. So that way you can make a transition. We mustn't think that the transition town movement is a sort of hair shirt and a kind of stopping everything and today, the utopia must come today. It's a journey, it's a pilgrimage. You can't just create a utopia out of nowhere because we are not that situation. Utopia means no place. We cannot be in no place. So we are in transition. And I am, and you are, we are all trying to reduce our impact, our footprint as much as possible. That's a more sensible approach, yes?
Satish, you mentioned the universities and places like that are still basing their emphasis on the economy.
Yeah.
Can you give us any hope that our young people in the primary schools and the secondary schools of UK, how are they doing? It seems to me it's very important that's put right.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how you feel about that and what transition can do about the education of our young people.
Yeah. No, that's a very important question. I feel that young people are more ready. And if they were given the kind of education, holistic education, which includes economy and ecology and arts and spirituality and culture. And so there is a movement associated with transition movement called human scale education. And there we are trying to encourage many schools to make at least one day a week when children are taken out of the school and out of the classroom and they are taught to learn from nature directly. The book of nature, the classroom, outdoor classroom. So children should learn to appreciate nature rather than fear nature. At the moment, children are told, oh, it's out cold, don't go. It's raining, don't go. It's snow, don't go. I think children should be encouraged to go in the rain, go in the snow, go in the wind, and experience nature. If you properly clothed and so on, you don't have to fear. So one day a week, every school should be practicing an outdoor classroom and learning from nature. So that's the kind of movement we have. And lots of schools are going into it. The other movement we promote through human skill education is that every school should have a garden, so that the meals in the school are not this mass-produced, not so nutritious, not so tasty, bad food. Children should prepare the food from their garden. They should learn to cook and they should learn to grow. And when you plant the seed and you see the plant growing and you see the flowers and you see the fruit, there's a learning. There's a biology, there is a physics, there is a history, there is a poetry. Everything you can learn by being in nature. So we are trying to encourage through education and through a human skill education movement that every school should have a garden and a kitchen so that children learn to cook and learn to grow and learn to appreciate a good living atmosphere in schools. So that's the kind of effort we are doing. But it needs more, definitely.
Can you mention what the small school is doing?
Small school is an example. There are a number of small schools which do the same thing. In 1982, I started the small school in Heartland. And it's a very small school. We have only 20 children, but it has been going for 25, 26 years, since 1982. So there we particularly emphasize this idea that the kitchen is a classroom And we have a garden, and the garden is a classroom. And we take children out in nature once a week to learn from nature. There are other schools, primary school in Dartington called Park School, and that's the same principle. Then there's another school at Ashburton. So 3 schools in Devon, Sand School, the same principle. Some of the Steiner schools are practicing the same principle. But the main work which we are trying to do through human scale education movement is to reach out in the public, in the state sector, the comprehensive schools and the primary schools of the government. If we can approach and break through there, then it will be a real change and real revolution. Because we can have a few small-scale experiments outside the system. They are good as examples, but we need to reach in the mainstream education movement. Yeah, there are a few hands there.
Have you any observations to make on the future of internet communications? Because I was very disturbed. I read recently an article, and I don't know how reliable it was, but it said that there's infinitely more energy being used up, far more than is used on air travel, and it's growing exponentially.
You mean the internet and,
yes,
and the mobile phones and so on. Yes. Again, it's a question of transition and a question of balance. At the moment, I think we are getting too much of information technology. And this way, we are also losing out direct communication with people. Emails, okay, but the art of letter writing should also be maintained. And we are forgetting the art of letter writing. Love letters to our friends and our family used to be so wonderful. We are just very text messages, quick text messages. There's no real language, no real poetry. So I think we need to maintain a balance, and we need to hold on to our, because when you have a new development and you discard your old good systems, then it's not a very good development. So we need to build on what good systems we have of letter writing, direct communication, conversation, meeting our friends, having tea together, and a conversation. Those arts should be maintained, direct communication. And then a little bit of internet communication will not be a problem. I'm not altogether against all sort of technology and internet communication, but it's the overdoing will be a problem, in my view. Okay, this.
You were talking about schools
Yeah.
and gardens, and it just flashed into my mind. I think perhaps our hospitals ought to be surrounded by allotment.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Food in hospitals is
Absolutely, absolutely.
And when people need healing,
Yeah,
their
yeah.
immune systems need.
You know, Schumacher's book, Small is Beautiful, that was a classic book and a seminal book. And in it he says that when any institution, hospitals, schools, governments, businesses, corporations, any organization, when they become too big, they lose the quality. So his idea of transition was a transition from quantity to quality, from big to small, from quantity to quality. So hospitals should be smaller, where people can care for each other and cook good food, and hospitals are surrounded by trees and surrounded by gardens, and indoor, inside, beautiful sculptures, beautiful artwork. So it should be homely and a warm and welcoming place, hospital, so that you feel better there. At the moment our hospitals are too big, too bureaucratic, too technological, and too bare of art and nature. And that kind of hospital system makes you more ill than healthy. It's become very mechanistic. So avoid going to such hospitals.